Hello, YouTube. Today's Mod Mondays will cover the Kenshi mod Cannibals expanded by Microwave Row. Much like last week, we have another community recommended faction expansion mod. I will abruptly cut the intro off to say that this mod does have some major flaws. I'll explain those later in the video overall, but I want to ensure that we highlight every facet so that players understand what they're getting into when they get the mod. Now, do I think that you should get the mod? Yes. It's a great mod, it just has some rather large flaws balancing wise. This mod, unlike last week, doesn't affect many things, if anything, in regards to world states, so we can solely focus on aesthetics and balance for this video. Starting off like last week, we have items and tech up first. We only have one item, and this item spawns on many cannibals, so it's quite common as loot. The Cannibal Scrap. The only item added by the mod, the Cannibal Scrap, is research material for the new research added. You'll only need 24 of these total, but as stated, you can find them commonly, so everything after that is just extra money. All research can be completed at tech level 3. Now, on to the weapons. There's only 4 new weapons added by this mod, and it will likely take a larger focus of this review. These things are not at all balanced very well. In early game and lower levels, grabbing them off cannibals can significantly boost the lethality of your attacks early game. Of course, this also means that they're much more deadly to get, given the mod adds in armor to the cannibals and new cannibal types, meaning that it is much riskier trying to get them. First up, we have the Spiked Mace. This thing is a light and fast, but it packs one hell of a punch. This thing ignores 35% of all armor stats against a given target. It has a 10% bonus against human-type enemies, meaning Hivers, Sheks, Greenlanders, and Scorchlanders. It also has a bleed rate of 2. With only a weight of 4, it's a guaranteed pickup early game, and that's just the base stats. Find a higher level 1 or earn a higher level 1, and its stats are even more skewed. Next up with these OP weapons, we have the Meat Hook. A polearm class, this one actually fills a solid niche, cut and bleed with slight armor penetration. The Meat Hook also does a whopping 65% of extra damage to animals, meaning it's a guaranteed pickup. Again, if you're having trouble with animals. It ignores 15% of armor, so not a lot, but actual decent amount of armor being ignored. It has a 20% bleed multiplier, so not a lot again, but add a higher level to it and you start to see much higher stats. It, of course, like the rest of the weapons, does extra bleed damage to humans. It has a 30% bonus damage to humans. The Head Lopper, a rather heavy cleaver type weapon, it hosts a massive 1.9 multiplier to weight. This makes it oddly balanced at later levels. You're almost guaranteed to need a high-end prosthesis to wield this effectively. 30% bonus damage to animals, 10% armor penetration, 20% extra bleed, and only 10% extra damage to humans. The biggest issue with this weapon is weapon scaling. Find a higher weapon grade and a good prosthetic, and you're set to cleave through enemies. Add a solid animation mod on top of this, and you become a literal whirlwind of death. The Grand Meat Hammer. This weapon, even in lower tiers, can absolutely crush you if you're not careful. Animal damage bonus of 20%, blunt damage multiplier of 2, human damage multiplier of 1.2, or otherwise known as 20% more damage, a weight of 18, and an attack bonus of +8, you will absolutely get crushed by this early on. At the highest levels, you may need full prosthetic limbs at masterwork to even use this at all. This weapon scales wildly and will one-shot pretty much anything in many cases. While a bit abrupt, we'll jump over to the character changes to highlight some of the stat differences and the armor. While in vanilla, cannibals use their numbers to their advantage, and this makes them relatively difficult for new players and decent training for more advanced players, this mod, as stated, already adds new armors to their spawns, and these armors also come with their own issues. The character changes are as follows. The normal cannibal, you know, the one that's painted red and the female looks like. Not a new type, but a bit of an upgrade, stats hovering around 18-ish. The extra armor makes them a bit tougher. The Scrawny Cannibal and their green paint, they have no stat boost, just armor added, and it's been added really sparingly. The armor pieces being set really low as a spawn chance. The Cannibal Chief's stats slightly increased to 35, up from the 30 that they usually sit at in vanilla, and wearing full armor sets, these guys are tankier and hit way harder with the new weapons. They, however, are not the biggest threats. The new Cannibal characters. The Cannibal Tenderizer, a new Cannibal type with stats around 50. These guys are armored and can be slow. They do, however, carry the new Meat Hammer around a mid-level, meaning if they hit, they are likely to break limbs. The Cannibal Punisher. Stats again around 50. These guys wear another full armor set and are easily distinguished by the spikes on their armor. Carrying the Head Lopper or Spike Mace, these guys are meant to bleed and cut off limbs. The Cannibal Mancatcher. Following suit with the other two new Cannibal types, these guys have around 50-ish stats and are again fully armored. Carrying a mid-level meat hook, these guys can pack a punch as well. Do not forget that all of these armors are heavily balanced around protection, meaning that in some cases their stats are better than crab armor. Pair this with the new stat increases and the new damage types coming from these enemies. These enemies are the ones you have to watch out for. Do not take them light. Even early game, these guys can absolutely crush a character and end a playthrough. Bosses. Oh boy. The Cannibal bosses got a huge upgrade. All bosses are now rocking roughly 80 to 100 stats. The Meat Lord comes sitting at a toughness of 90 and attack of 90 with a max level Meat Hammer. It will crush through your armor. It's guaranteed. This is a boss that you will want to avoid for the most part until much later game. The Mighty Handhead comes sitting at a mostly 75 even stats, carrying a spike mace that will again punch through your armor and bleed you out at an insane rate. If you can shoot him from a crossbow from a distance, that would be ideal. Finally, the big name boss. Unlike the last two bosses, the Cannibal Grand Wizard comes out surprisingly at the middle of the road between the last two bosses. He does, however, have the coolest looking armor. Wielding a max level Head Lopper and sitting at 80 base stats, he and the group of enemies around him, bear in mind he is in a larger city, this is going to make fighting him a very long drawn out war. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. If you guys like the video, leave a like. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment below. If you like the content, consider subscribing, as I plan on expanding what games I cover in the future. I'm Atlas, and I am out.